doesn't look right, So I asked my father then. I said, "Is that phony? Is that fake or whatever?" And I've never been hit so hard in my life. My father just slapped me so hard, knocked me on the ground.
So he didn't want to smarten you up to the business. He just kept it,
Exactly.
Before you went over to Japan, I did want to ask you about Eddie Graham. What are some of your early memories of Eddie Graham, who to me is probably one of the best minds in the business? And
he was.
Still says this today.
He's a genius.
One of the best Finnish guys in the business besides Pat Patterson.
He could just reach in there and grab a finish and make it look like, people would just be in awe. He was just amazing. He was a genius at this business.
What about early memories of Hiro Matsuda?
Hiro Matsuda was my trainer since I was like 3 years old. God. He used to, because, he knew me, so he would go after me, in Japan all the time.
Right.
And every time he'd had the blades on his fingers, just cutting me to death out there in front of everybody. And I'm going, the Japanese people, they don't like it, the office there.
Right.
And they would get so mad at me. Why do you let them do that? I'm going, what are you talking about, man? How am I going to stop them? Jarrett was the best to me. Jeff Jarrett, was the referee. And I worked with the Japanese guys, Kiyosato and Goto. And they came in, we did a whole thing with Tojo and them. An angle with Jeff where he gets beat up, he's the referee, gets beat up, I run in, save him, and then we become partners. He learns how to wrestle the whole 9 yards. And I tell you what, the best things I learned were, Jarrett would always, help me out after the match. He would teach me so much. He would, he'd sit down, he was patient, he would just say, this is why we do it. Sometimes you got to really understand why you do these things instead of just do them, No, it wasn't. I think Crockett's territory was pretty bad for that.
A lot of cocaine going around.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of cocaine everywhere. But, in Tennessee as well. But I think Crockett's team was, they made more money.
I was going to say, that's why. There was more money there. How did you and Paul Diamond first come together down in Memphis?
He was there when I got there. And he was working there, and I guess they were doing something with Joe LeDuc. Don't worry about it, just count 30 and it'll be cool. And I counted 30, and they must have done the finish 3 times. By the time I counted the 30, and they're screaming at me, "Get the fuck up, you fucking idiot!" And that's all I can remember, them saying that. And now they got me so scared I don't want to get up.
Right.
So anyway, when he took me in the back, he screamed at me in front of all the boys, man, and I was just like, oh my God, man, I was so embarrassed. And he had me in tears. He was just screaming at me so hard, and I was like, oh God, man, I screwed up again,
Who did you travel with besides Ric Flair? When you traveled with Rick, were you just a ref, or did you pretty much travel with like everybody?
I traveled with everybody. Because it was usually me, Dusty, Magnum TA, Rick Rude, or it would be me, Barry Darso, Rufus R. Jones, and Pistol Pez Watley, one of my best buddies, And I tell you what, Denny Brown, myself, I rode with everybody. Every week we would just switch around. I was lucky, and I learned this business when I was young. So I had the best to work with since I was young. So I learned fast because they made me learn fast, and they made me learn right, But Jeff, man, he was like a natural, a real natural.
Was it more pressure to work with the Booker's son?
No, and that was the thing, everybody was like, oh man, Pat, you're not gonna. So I came up with the bad coming music. I said, we got to do this because it was just so much the way all the wrestlers lived, we go to the extreme. And either die or succeed, or maybe not even both,
Right.
Maybe just, drift off.
Looking back, are you, surprised that you're sitting here today with us? You've lived a life that was crazy, and you're very fortunate to be here still.
Yeah, absolutely. So many drug rehabs, so many times, and I've OD'd I don't know how many times, and then, incredibly, I'm still here, and
did you see the potential in Shawn Michaels when he was down in Memphis? Did you think one day he was going to be a huge star?
Well, we all. I always knew there was pretty much, nobody that could touch him in the ring. His timing, like I said, was impeccable. Buddy was, he was the man. He was in the territory with me before that. He was with me in Carolinas, and they were going to put the world champion belt on him, and, I don't know what happened, but, people talk, but you know what?
Yeah, we did an interview with Buddy. He said that he overslept because he partied a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So.
Wahoo McDaniels was a great buddy of mine.
Right.
And he came into Tennessee, worked the territory, and man, I worked with him, and he goes, "Fuck, man, Patrick," he goes, "Can you leave here?" And I said, "Of course, man, whenever you want, man." And man, he took me with him, and that's when I told Paul, I said, "Man, you want to go with me or no?" And that's when we became, bad company.
Initial impressions of Vernganas.
Yeah, it was probably the best times of my life too there. We ribbed them so bad. I'm surprised we had a job with them. Huh. Really was. The best rib in the world was on Vern.
Tell us about it.
Well, but Kurt was like, I don't know, he was just so, he had that personality, that magnet personality, you always want to hang out with him and stuff like that. And he was just a great guy. He really was, man.
How shocked were you when you found out that he passed?
Man.
Was that a wake-up call at all for you at all?
No, you could say yeah, but I'm not going to lie. It wasn't, in fact, I was just in such disbelief, I remember I was just like, no. You got to work hard to get him over.
Now, Vern Gagne's style, Vern obviously with his amateur background, it was like AWA territory was not a high spot territory. And then you guys come in, you, Shawn and Marty and Paul, you guys are having these matches with a lot of high spots and totally different than, what the local fans are even used to, even Vern. How did Vern like your matches since they were, way more aerial than what he was probably used to seeing?
Well, that was the thing, but you had two great wrestlers before us that were incredible, and that was Brian Blair and Jimmy Brunzell.
Yeah.
And just when he freaked out, grabbed, put his boot right back on.
So he totally pretty much kayfabed the entire locker room.
Exactly. Yeah. No one knew.
Wow.
Nobody.
Did he open up after that?
No.
He's still just It's like
kayfabed everybody.
Speaking of Curry, everyone knows the infamous Von Erich stories about the behavior and the partying and stuff like that. What are your take on the Von Erich story as far as like those guys outside the ring and being wild and crazy?
Hey, feel it, I guess. I don't know.
You're probably one of the best bumpers in the business by far.
I appreciate
the best
it.
bumps of all time. So
thank you.
You worked a little bit with Patera too before you went to New York, right?
Yeah.
What was those matches like? Because
man,
pretty much at the end of his game.
Yeah, I tell you what, me and Honk used to party hard together, and I remember I used to look at him and go, "Is Animal going to beat the piss out of me tomorrow?" Because I kept you up all night, and it was funny, because we used to I forgot where it was, where me and him were partying so hard, and I guess we wanted to go get some more shit and whatever, and
the white stuff,
I don't know what color it was, and he goes, it was like 5:30 in the morning. He goes, "Let's go get some more." So all right, so I go to call a taxi, and he goes, "Well, I'm not gonna even say it. I can't say that." But he just called, and I said, "Can you get a taxi?" And then he called back down after I called for the taxi and said, "Make sure he knows where to go in the hood." Slammed the phone down. I go, "You got to be kidding me! You just said that to the front desk. We're staying at the Marriott." And I'm going, "Oh my God, man! You did not just do that." And he used to argue with me all the way down there, and talk about, no, we need to do this. And so what happened was we missed our flights, right? And I'm going, "There's no more flights, man. We can't get to the town," right? He goes, "That's okay, man." I said, "What do you mean it's okay? We're going to get fined." That was the time they were fining us like $5-10 grand a night, you know? And I go, "What do you mean it's okay?" "No, we'll be fine." So he fucking rents a Learjet. I'm going, dude, are you kidding me, man? I said, bro, man, fucking it's just me and you. You know, we got to put out 25 grand for a fucking thing. And I'm going, we might as well miss it and fucking stay here and party. What are you doing, bro? And, I mean, that's what he would do, though, man. I mean, absolutely, man. I understood. And I think they were going to put me as singles then. And I knew if they put me as singles, it was going to end my career quickly. And Vince said, no, we're going to do things with you and all that kind of stuff. But you know what, man, I know me. I mean, I'm too small. I'm not going to, you know, have a longevity with that. So I thought he was definitely going to kill him. So I said, no, you know, so we used him as our manager.
Memories of Paul Heyman as a booker in ECW?
Oh, man, we had great times, and I loved working for him. But I don't know what happened, man. He just changed on me. Stopped talking to me, stopped even acknowledging me ever.
Is this after ECW?
Well, after we left and I went to WCW,
just
never talked to me again. And I saw him a few times. Because, you know, Ghetto and Jetto?
Yes.
They're my guys. I mean, I trained them, you know, the greatest now.
Yep.
And they are the head of New Japan. Go figure. You know, and he was by far probably one of the greatest minds in this business. I mean, how can you beat that, you know? And that match he had with Shawn Michaels, it was incredible.
Yeah. Sado came back briefly. Do you think that stopped you guys from progressing, you and Paul as a tag team?
No, not at all.
What happened there? Why did he come back?
Failing a drug test.
Oh, okay. And then you left.
And they were going, no, because, you know, he parties way too much. We don't want to. And I said, Chris, promise me you're not going to party in Japan. He goes, I promise. I give you my word. I'm not going to do anything. What happened? He OD'd on the plane. Wow. You know, and they had to take him off in the stretcher in Japan.
I remember that story.
You know, and like, are you kidding me, man? I mean, he's the first guy I booked for New Japan, and you know, as a booker. And oh God, I love New York and Philly. I love to wrestle here because I mean, it's such an incredibly explosive crowd whenever you wrestle here, Philly. People are ODing, you know, and that's what happened to me. I don't know how it happened, but I remember all I did was maybe 4 scoops, and I think I didn't eat for 2 days. And I did 4 scoops because I wanted to go to sleep. And I tell you what, it was probably like the worst feeling in the world. I mean, the whole room was spinning. We were too small. And I remember we were working with the Demolition the first night. And that was just like, oh, shit, you know. And, you know, I mean, it was hard for them. I walked in at 160 pounds, man. And they were... Everybody that was in that locker room was, you know, 250 and up and 6'3" and up, and I'm walking in 5'8", and, you know, 160 pounds. You know, it was hard. You know, I mean, no one wanted to work with us.